right, everyone. Welcome in to the AppSheetTraining.com free webinar powered by CrewTech. My name is Clark James. I'll be hosting with my colleague, Mr. Stephen Quartermont. So glad that everybody could come in today. We are starting a little bit late. We were trying to see if anybody else was going to show up late, but we're going to go ahead and get started. So first, I want to talk to you guys about AppSheet and why this is such an awesome platform to be using. First of all, AppSheet it's called a no-code development platform. It's really nice because of how agile, how efficient, how approachable it is. And what all that means is that it's so much quicker to build your app for your company. I was actually talking to a guy yesterday about an app he is trying to build for his company, and he's spent $6,000 already, and he got some guy in India to build the base model of it, and it doesn't look very good, and he has spent 2 months on it already, and the things that his app can do, I could do in 45 minutes. I mean, it's crazy how much time and money it takes to build something from the ground up. And so that's why AppSheet is so nice. Is you don't have to build it from the ground up. You don't have to have all these custom margins. You don't have to make sure that everything's lined up perfectly, because AppSheet does all that for you. And then I want to talk to you about kind of the hierarchy of some businesses. You're going to see there's 3 different bubbles here. You got your operations lead. That's going to be the boss of your project. You have your business stakeholder. It's going to be your money. That's going to be the guy who is financing the project, who says this is what I want to do. And he gives that information to the boss to manage that. And then you have your IT and developers, who are actually the ones that are going to be building the app. And so most of the time, your IT and developers and your business stakeholders aren't going to be communicating. They aren't usually going to be having that one-to-one communication. It's usually going to be strictly just from the business stakeholder, the money, to the boss, and then the boss to the IT. Now, that's well and dandy, but for a lot of smaller businesses, a lot of times these 3 things are all the same person, which that's a lot of details that you would have to know. You'd have to know exactly what you want. You'd have to know and how to do it. And that is, it's possible, but it's a lot of things that you would have to learn about coding and about developing your app and trying to make it as user-friendly as possible. And so that's why AppSheet is so nice, is because it takes it all and it makes it super simple. It makes it super easy, and you can start making your app and know and see all the things that you want, and it's so much more beneficial than trying to build it from the ground up.
Totally. Way faster, streamlines communication, and just super helpful, game-changing, really, for a lot of companies.
Oh, yeah. And so that being said, we're going to go ahead and go into today's demo. And Stefan's going to be the lead on that.
Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen here.
And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put those in the comments. We'll be sure to read those off either in the moment or more towards the end.
Okay. Right. Are you guys seeing an AppSheet editor on my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. Great. So this is the Crew Super Vehicle Inspection application. Very common use case for AppSheet is field inspections. That just means somebody who has to go out of the office to look at some piece of equipment or some process, take notes on it, and report that back. Usually that's a super disconnected process in businesses, involves a lot of paper, handwriting, and translating into a spreadsheet that translates into a report that goes to a boss several weeks later. And that time from I recognize an issue to that problem gets recognized by the people that can take action on it, and a solution gets delivered for whatever issue there is in the field. Can be days, can be weeks, can be months for some operations. But AppSheet is amazing at narrowing in that timeline and really speeding up the line of communication between the guy in the field and the person who needs to recognize the issue and the person who needs to fulfill the maintenance or the fixing of that issue. So instead of weeks, it can be days. On the screen right now, you are seeing a card view of several different types of vehicles that are in my imaginary fleet. I really wish I had one of these tractors. I love mowing grass. I think that would just be amazing to have a ton of acreage and mow grass with one of those beasts. But let's say I'm going out in the field today and I'm going to inspect my green John Deere tractor. So I've got this little quick action button, this little tachometer icon, and it initiates a vehicle trip inspection form. So let's say I'm going to put in the current reading of the odometer. Some different vehicles, instead of tracking mileage, they track hours. So let's say I've got 2,400 hours on that machine. And I could put a location here. Is it clean? Not today. And we've got an auto-generated next inspection date. So we can talk a little more about that later. But then I've got this form entry is a tabbed form entry, so it's got multiple pages. This is a nice way to break up long form entry. In this fluid page, I've got the first question: do all fluids pass inspection? If I say no, then I'm going to go down the list and I'm going to say what passes and what fails. But if I say yes, I have an initial value on all of these guys that if I say yes, it automatically marks them all as passed if I hadn't already interacted with them. So question, is the tabbed feature part of the dashboard view? This is actually a form view, and there's a setting in the form view for pagination, and it's not exactly intuitive how to set it up, so we will go into that a little bit later. So I'm going to cycle through. Did all documentation pass? Yes, it did. And then maybe there's some specific things that I want to look at. All the emergency equipment and safety devices. This is just kind of an example of different ways that you could present information inside the form for people to take action on. So question at the end, are there any defects to these? If so, I'm going to, you notice if I pressed no here, the details of the defects detected doesn't have an asterisk, but if I press yes, it does. So this is a conditionally required field. So if there are any defects, somebody's got to tell me about it. And maybe I'll say the fire extinguisher has a minor defect and the air brake system, and there's dangerous goods. Those have major defects. And then a great descriptive note. And I've got a blank section there because I deleted some columns earlier just to simplify the form. This application already knows who I am because we have a table of employees or users, and my email address that I'm logged into AppSheet with is associated to that table. And so it automatically fills in my name here, which I could switch to another person if I wanted to. You could also lock that down, so that's not possible. And then let's say I want to have my person in the field sign off on this, because a lot of paper forms have signatures. And so, maybe this needs to get printed out into a PDF and archived. And so keeping that signature there and printing that on a PDF is important for your clerical process. And then this may not always be seen, but I'm showing it to you for example's sake. a certification step to the form. So this record gets submitted by the person in the field, but maybe later needs to be certified that repairs were completed on the vehicle. And so this is a page where the certifier would mention in remarks and declare if things are complete on the vehicle or not. So I'm going to say that they are. And I'm going to save it. Now, what this allows me to do, I've got a second view here, the one in the middle, recent inspections dash. This shows me a dashboard of inspections completed, I believe, in the last 30 days. I can take a look at my slice back here and look at the recent V-tier inspections. And I've got a expression here that is take the total hours from this equation divided by 24, which would give us days. And if that is less than or equal to 15, so 15 days or younger would appear in the recently inspected slice, which is what is powering this view on the right, and what is also different slices with the same expression is powering the view on the left. Now, I've got this total hours expression because I'm subtracting two dates or date times. And what that results in is a duration. So if I look in the time section here, and I'm going to find okay, date minus date. If you do a date minus date, it results in a duration data type. And so that's actually a measurement of like hours, minutes, and seconds between 2 points. And so I can't just divide hours, minutes, and seconds by 24 because it's not actually a real number. If I go up to the top here for the definition of a duration data type, it looks like this. And it's got colons and stuff. You can't really do normal math with that. There's some duration math that you can do, and it explains later down here different ways to manipulate that duration. But I'm wrapping that result, so that duration, in a function called total hours, which should be in here. Here we go. Total hours function takes a duration data type, and it will return the total amount of hours in that duration. So rather than having to do all sorts of weird stuff to extract hours, minutes, and seconds, we have this nice function. Then I just divide that by 24, get 15 days. So quick explanation of how we did that. Now, this is helpful for knowing, maybe an administrator would see this dashboard and kind of be able to keep tabs on what's getting done, how many inspections are happening regularly, and just keep an eye out for anything that may have an issue. We could alternatively put a format rule on this inspection record because it had a minor or a major defect. We could put something on there that flagged it so that somebody would see it, or maybe they would get an email. We also have a reporting dashboard. So we could look in the year 2019 and see how many inspections were done for tool inspections, how many vehicle trip inspections were done. And then we have a couple of small graphs here for, how many things need repair, are out of order, non-critical. We can see some of the cool animations from AppSheet's new graphing engine showing up there. And this is also a interactive dashboard. So if I click on a different driver, it's going to show me records related back to that driver or that inspector. All right, so there's the skinny on a fairly clean and simple but feature-rich vehicle inspection app. Any questions? Okay, Brian had the question earlier about how did you do the tabbed form? So that is a good question and also a bit of a tricky one to answer. So if I am in the editor and I want to find that form, maybe I'll do the same thing. I'll click that action button and it takes me to the form. I see the tabs at the top. Down in the bottom right hand of my window, you can see there's some links here. One link to the view, one link to the data table that is powering what I'm seeing in the emulator. I'm going to click on the view. And you may not see this automatically because this is kind of a white view controller instead of a gray view controller. If you scroll down to the bottom of your UX menu in the Views tab, you will see a button that says Hide System Views. Everything that's white gets hidden or shown. So these are views that are automatically created whenever you add tables to the app. AppSheet automates some of the creation of things like a detail view, a form view, an inline view, or a table view for certain view types, but depending on the permissions for that view and what data is in it. I just took this vehicle trip inspection form and I just modified it a little bit. I set the page style to tabs. I could set it to page count, and I get the little dots up at the top, or simple, which just has the next button, doesn't tell me anything about where I am in the stage of my form. But I like the tabs at the top. They're descriptive and can help you find things quickly in large tables. So the way these tabs are defined is in my column structure. Let's take a look at the vehicle trip inspection column structure. We can see I've got my ID field set to key, and then I've got some fields here that have asterisks on them. The asterisk doesn't do anything special, but I use it so that I can recognize in my data table, if I open up wherever it is, yeah, here we go. If I open up my spreadsheet and I'm seeing all the tabs here, I can recognize what's different, as in what's collecting data and what is serving to paginate or, break up or structure my form. So everything with an asterisk means it's structural or it's pagination. And then everything that doesn't is a normal data field. So going back to the editor, everything that's an asterisk is set to the column type of show. Now, show has a few different properties. So when you set a column type to show, you get a field here called type details and a category and content. So there is 6 category types. You have page header, section header, normal text, URL, image, and video. So these are all things that you can kind of embed in your forms to present extra information to the person who's viewing or filling out the form. Stuff that may be contextual. We saw that big list of inspection items that needed to be checked for defects earlier. That was a text category type. And then you put the content in here. So that's a little bit different than most AppSheet data fields. So normally whatever is in the value of the column in the spreadsheet appears in AppSheet whenever you fill it out. So the yes, no, the pass, fail, those things kind of automatically appear. You may think because you put general here and you set it to show, it would automatically say general. It doesn't. You actually have to step in here and define it in the content area.
Well, you were right about that not being intuitive. That's for sure. Wow.
Yeah. It's a little bit tricky, and it harkens back to the Google form days. Whenever you create a Google form inside of the Google form editor, you're adding multiple sections and logic between them. And then you say, okay, I'm ready to submit my form and launch it. And then it creates a spreadsheet to capture results sometimes. And you look at the headings on those spreadsheets and they're just wild. And you see a lot of blank spaces. And so it takes the same structure as that. And so that if you, one way to quickly build an AppSheet app is to build a Google form. And then there's an add-on to the Google form that can make an app out of your Google form and port it to AppSheet. So it is not intuitive, but there is a payout if you're coming from Google Forms. So some pointers there. The general vehicle information, this one is a section header. So the page headers will become your pagination at the top, your tabs. Section headers are bolded, centered parts of your form. And then let's go over to this one. This one is just text in my NSC section. We can see it's just a big blob of text. It looks funny because of the Crew Tools editor. It makes it look, you know, sort of fancy. It's not really that fancy. It's just a bunch of text inside of quotation marks with, you know, line breaks and things like that. You can't put super fancy formatting, so that's why I've got things like the double dashes and the all caps to give a semblance of formatting and hierarchy in there. And then it's set to the text category type. Now, what's cool is maybe you don't always want the user to see every tab. If you put a validation on the page header, so you use this valid if column and you say, let's just pick a yes, no column somewhere. Oh, let's just say odometer. If the odometer reading is greater than 50,000, then show this section. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll just run it here in the emulator. So I don't have to bore you guys with refreshing and resyncing apps and other tabs. Let's say today I'm at 49,999. And I scroll across, I see NSC. But let's bump it up. Today we're 50,001. Oh no, did I? No. Well, let's examine that. Embarrassing myself on recorded. Oh, well, I think it's because I put a comma there. Oh no, it's because I was thinking wrong. Clearly, if I go back to 1,000, NSC section is there. Oh no. Maybe it's thinking that's 50. Well, you know, maybe it doesn't work like that. Maybe it used to, and I'm just, you know, behind the curve. A little more tweaking would get it to work that way, I guarantee you, because these can be conditionally shown or hidden, and you hide based on the column that is the page header. So let it be known. All righty then. That addresses the form input, how to paginate forms. Any other questions, thoughts?
Just a question on, you said you have a table that has all your users and their emails. Is there any way to directly just connect up with the directory, the G Suite directory, so you don't have to maintain that table and make changes to it?
Yep. So good question. If you're coming from AppMaker, AppMaker had a feature where you could treat your Google Groups as an actual data table and like authenticate your users against that and use some of that data inside of your applications. AppSheet doesn't support it in that exact way. So if we go into security here and we go to domain authentication, this is a business feature, but if I were to turn it on, I could select different Google groups and kind of create some different authentication groups. This feature is getting a little bit more support. The last time I looked at it, it didn't have this little interface here where I could pick a specific user, define their role type in the app, and what app version they get. You can now, so maybe that's an upcoming feature. I haven't heard anything in specific, but there is an advantage to having your own employee table, and that is you can add more information. So let's say I wanted to have something called a driving score. And Clark has a 5, and I have a really big driving score. Now, maybe you can add sort of custom properties like that. And I find that in almost every AppSheet app that we put together, there are custom properties, custom permission levels, and things like that that you'll want to do with that table. So get an export of your Google group, throw it in a sheet, and, you know, hook it up to your app. That's sort of my suggestion.
Okay.
Clark, I don't think your driving score is actually 5. It's more like 5 million.
I appreciate that.
Oh, I had a driving score and now it doesn't like me. We'll go ahead and regenerate that table. Pick up driving score as a column. Awesome, guys. Any other thoughts?
Nope.
All right. Well, hey, this has been a fun webinar, and I've managed to break an app multiple times. So
it just shows you're human.
yes, absolutely human. Debugging, fixing things, and banging your head against the wall is a normal part of the app development experience, whether you're using code or not. But let me tell you, you will bang your head against the wall less with no
way
code.
Less. Oh my gosh. way less.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take back over Mr. Stefan. Just show off our last slide. Again, we're Crew Tech. This is what we do. Our purpose is to help you guys find success with your AppSheet apps. We want you guys to feel comfortable in the whole process. And so that's why we put on these free webinars, because we want to show you the things that you can do, some cool features, and we want to make that super available to anyone who wants that. We have at the top left up here the appsheettraining.com webinar link. This is every week. We're going to have this at 11 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time.
On Thursdays.
On Thursdays. I was like, what am I forgetting? And again, we're appsheettraining.com. That's us. We do this all the time. We have a couple different options if you guys would like some more assistance with whatever projects that you're working on. We have both self-paced training and enterprise training for you if you're into that. I can personally vouch for these things. This is how I was trained coming into learning AppSheet. I didn't have any experience with apps or development or coding at all, and now I'm hosting webinars. So I can clearly say that it works. And then if you're looking for more of a one-on-one coaching kind of thing, if you're looking for more development or support on an app that you already have, I've linked my email right here, clark@grease.solutions. That's my personal email, and I would love to get in touch with you guys and see how I can help you get your dreams developed. Stefan, do you have anything you want to add to that?
You did a great job, Clark. We are always interested in making this better. So if you have any ideas you want to see, any app concepts or strategies or features that you want to see demonstrated in one of these webinars, please drop us a line in the comments or email Clark. If you want to know about his real driving score, also email Clark.
It's probably about an 8. It's probably about an 8.
DMV records and things like that. So
yeah, I'll just post my driving record on the next webinar. So if you're stay tuned. Stay tuned. Cool. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.